Thank you very much, Anurekha Madam, for your kind introduction, and Dr. Ranjit for inviting me to give my presentation in this eminent conference. So without wasting much time, I'm just uploading my presentation. Kindly let me know whether it is visible to all of you. So my talk is basically focused on application of microextraction techniques in analytical toxicology, as my research work is basically focused on microextraction techniques. So before beginning the presentation, I would like to inform you that one book edited by me, that is Microextraction Techniques and Analytical Toxicology, is just coming. It is in press in CRC Press, and it has 15 chapters total. And the chapters has been contributed by various experts of microextraction techniques throughout the globe. So it will probably it will be releasing in the month of November by CRC Press. So now coming to basically what is analytical toxicology. So before understanding microextraction techniques, we have to understand analytical toxicology. So analytical toxicology basically deals with screening, confirmation, and identification and quantification of foreign compounds in biological and related samples. So these foreign compounds are technically known as xenobiotics because they are not produced or they are not endogenous to our human body. That's why they are known as xenobiotics. So we analyze these xenobiotics in various biological matrices, which we will discuss further. So analytical toxicology can be further divided into basically broadly into four fields. First is clinical toxicology. So clinical toxicology, then post-mortem toxicology, and forensic toxicology. These are very resembling to each other. Clinical toxicology deals with the ant-mortem samples for the screening of xenobiotic chemicals, while in post-mortem toxicology, it deals with the examination of body organs after death to establish the cause of death and time since death. And the post-mortem toxicology is basically performed by forensic practitioners in hospitals and toxicology department, forensic medicine departments. Now coming to forensic toxicology. This is basically deals with the analysis of post-mortem samples like blood, urine, visceral materials, and internal body organs for the establishment of the cause of death by detecting any foreign compounds, whether the person has consumed any drug or poison in overdose or whatever the dose. Then coming to environmental toxicology, so it deals with analysis of toxicants and pollutants in environmental samples. So this is the brief introduction of analytical toxicology. And since we are working in the field of forensic toxicology, the talk will be focused on forensic toxicology and clinical toxicology. So nature of samples, what kind of samples we analyze in analytical toxicology. These can be divided in two parts, ante-mortem samples and post-mortem samples. If the person has consumed any drug or poison and he is still alive, then we can collect some samples like blood, biological fluids, blood, plasma, serum, urine, saliva, and gastric lavage. And some keratinous tissue samples are also important, like hair and nail samples. While in case of post-mortem samples, if the death happened of that particular person, in that case, we can collect some tissue samples like stomach, lung, liver, kidney, spleen, and brain. And in general language, these samples are known as visceral samples. And also along with them, biofluid samples like blood, urine, and vitreous humor, bile, cerebrospinal fluids can also be collected depending upon the availability, because in most of the cases urine samples are not available. So basically, as a general practice, blood samples are sent for analysis, and vitreous humor samples are very rarest to rare. Nobody sends us for examination. However, they contains very important information about the chronic and acute poisoning. Now coming to the generalized analytical workflow which we adopt in our most laboratories. So we can divide the analysis in four parts. First is preliminary screening using color test, which are known to each and everyone. And then after color test, if there are some hints of positive confirmation, then we go for sample preparation, like we have to extract the xenobiotics or drug and poison from a particular sample. So by the use of color test, we can get a hint that yes, this class of drug is present. For example, benzodiazepine is present or barbiturate is present. After this preliminary confirmation, we go for sample preparation. We use to extract that particular drug from the complex samples. And then we go for third step, that is detection and identification. In forensic toxicology laboratory, this detection and identification is generally achieved by thin layer chromatography, because it's the most simple chromatographic technique and very fast, high sample throughput, as well as very simple to perform. And after that, this is the second confirmation. Then we go for quantitative analysis is required, and even qualitative analysis also. So it can be done by various chromatographic instruments like gas chromatography, mass spectrometry, HPLC.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Yes.
I think we are not able to see, the slide is not moving.
Slides are not moving, Rajiv.
Okay. Now, whether they are visible?
Yes, sir, visible, sir.
So in a full screen mode, I will not be able to present. This is the common problem with me. So
sir, you can
please bear with me, and you can, if you are able to see in this mode, then we can proceed.
Sir, you can make us full screen mode and use the arrow for moving.
Yeah.
Please check if it is working, sir.
Yeah.
Arrow button for next and.
Yeah. So whether this generalized analytical workflow is visible?
Yes, sir, that is visible.
Yeah.
Sir, you can go by the full mode, like slide show.
Yes.
Yes, sir, from here. Yes, and from arrow you can go next and last.
Yes, I'm doing that, but I think there is some connectivity issue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. By that it might be freeze. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So for the quantitative analysis, we use very hyphenated techniques like GCMS and HPLC, and some spectrophotometric techniques also can be used. Like in our previous talk, they have said that we can use FTIR for analysis of identification of cosmetic items. So commonly used analytical techniques are basically spectroscopy and chromatography. So depending upon the nature of analyte, whether it is metallic poison or whether it is a volatile poison or whether it is organic or inorganic. So depending upon the nature of analyte and chemistry of analyte, we choose different techniques. For example, in a spectroscopic analysis, we can use UV visual FTIR and Raman spectrophotometry. But if we have more than 2 or 5 constituents in the samples, so we have to separate these analytes from the sample matrix. And for the purpose of the separation and identification, we have to go for chromatography, because chromatography is a separation and identification technique. The spectroscopy has some limitations in this regard. So for chromatography, we can go for HPLC, GCMS, GCFID, HPTLC. If we have some polar kind of analytes, like they are containing any COOH or OH or some polar functional group, then we can go for HPLC. And if we have some semi-volatile and volatile kind of analytes like drugs and pesticide, then we can go for GCMS and gas chromatography. HPTLC is the advanced version and automated version of the TLC that is also very much suitable for the analysis of unknown compounds. Now I move to next slide, whether it is visible.
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
Yeah. So as I have told earlier, that after preliminary identification, we have to do sample preparation. So what is sample preparation and why we need sample preparation in any analytical method development or any analysis of drugs and poisons? Because direct handling of biological sample is not possible by any analytical instruments like chromatographic instruments. And biological samples are very complex in nature. They contain so many endogenous compounds like protein, fatty acids, vitamins, etc., hormones, etc. So basically they interfere with the analysis. So the basic goal of the sample preparation is to provide a homogeneous sample that is free from any interferences. For the accurate and reliable analysis of xenobiotics, we have to extract them from biological samples by various methods. These are commonly known as solvent-solvent extraction and solid phase extraction. So during the sample preparation, compounds are basically purified, then they are concentrated and supplied in the medium which is compatible with the chromatographic or analytical instruments. For example, for GCMS analysis, we use some organic solvents like chloroform, methyl acetate, methanol extracts. So hence the sample preparation is the most critical step in the analysis of xenobiotics from biological samples. So basically, I'm discussing in this slide what is the traditional sample preparation technique we are using in our laboratory, or most of the FSLs they are using, that is liquid extraction. So for example, we are extracting any poison from a tissue material or any biological material. In that case, we have to homogenize the samples to have a homogeneous distribution of the analyte throughout the matrix. And after that, since the compounds get trapped and it makes bonds with the protein of the endogenous proteins of the samples. So in that case, we have to also precipitate the proteins to free the drug or poison from the protein. And after that, we have to adjust the pH also, because pH because there are so many kinds of the analytes like basic and neutral and alkaline kind of analytes. So there is a basic principle like dissolves like. So we have to adjust the pH basic for the basic analytes and acidic for the acidic analytes. And after that, we perform extraction. And that extraction is performed by liquid extraction, which is very much known to each and everyone. So after that, the second most popular technique for sample preparation is solid phase extraction. So basically, solid phase extraction is a miniaturized column chromatography in which by various steps like preconditioning and loading and washing and elution, we step by step load our analyte, and the analytes are get adsorbed on the active sites of the polymer or whatever the adsorbent. And after that adsorption, we elute the analyte with any solvent which is very suitable for the analytes. So this is basically solid phase extraction. But there are some a disadvantage of these traditional sample preparation techniques. The major disadvantage that in LLE, it consumes large amount up to liters or 500 ml or 1 liter of toxic organic solvents like chloroform and other like ethyl acid. They are very much toxic to human as well as our environments. So as per the principles of green analytical chemistry, now these techniques are becoming obsolete, and nobody throughout the globe are preferring these techniques due to the major disadvantage of consumption of toxic organic solvent, as well as they are very laborious, time consuming, and the problems of emulsion formations, they are very common to liquid extraction. And although the consumption of the solvent is minimized in the solid phase extraction in compared to LLE, but still it consumes a significant amount of the organic solvent up to 10 ml or 20 ml, and it is also a multi-step procedure. So in order to overcome these disadvantages, we have to look some alternative extraction techniques, and these extraction techniques are known as micro extraction techniques. So as the name suggests, these are also extraction techniques, but they are at very micro level. So basically these are miniaturized extraction techniques, and they consume very little solvent or zero solvents. In case of solid phase micro extraction, it does not consume any solvent. And in case of some other micro extraction techniques, they consume only 100 microliter to 200 microliter of extraction solvent. So you can compare where you are consuming 500 ml and now you are consuming only 100 microliters. So the quantum of the consumption of toxic organic solvent is reduced very significantly. So they are being more environment friendly. They are very simple, rapid, and cost effective also. And they are compatible with most of the analytical instruments we use in forensic science. And they also allow automation and online coupling of analytical instruments. They offer high extraction efficiency and enrichment factor in comparison to traditional sample preparation techniques. So now we are coming to the broad-based classification of micro extraction techniques. So basically, micro extraction techniques can be divided in two categories. One are those techniques which have any adsorbent phase or any solid material or polymer material which is used for the adsorption or extraction of the analytes. These are known as sorbent based. Another one is solvent based. These are the micro extraction techniques which consumes organic solvents like in LLE, but at very miniaturized amount like 100 microliter, 200 microliter. So sorbent based micro extraction techniques, the first and foremost micro extraction techniques which was introduced in 1990 by Polisson and University of Waterloo, that is solid phase micro extraction technique, and it can be considered as the father of micro extraction techniques, which we have more than 20 micro extraction techniques we have right now. So solid phase micro extraction technique, then straight bar micro extraction with packed solvent, fabric phase octave extraction, thin film micro extraction, and in case of solvent based micro extraction, we have liquid phase micro extraction, single drop micro extraction, and dispersive liquid micro extraction. So I will discuss some of the techniques one by one to get an preliminary idea about the micro extraction techniques. So coming to solvent based micro extraction techniques. So as you can see, as I have told earlier, that there is a adsorbent is used for the extraction. This is basically a polymer, for example, polydimethylsiloxane, PDMS. Basically, PDMS is the material which is used for the separation of organic compounds in capillary column used in GC. So this PDMS is used for as a sorbent for the extraction of analytes, and we can perform this these micro extraction techniques in two modes. One mode is direct immersion mode, and another mode is headspace mode. In the direct immersion mode, the contact of the liquid sample and sorbent phase is direct. That means your sorbent material is dipped into the sample, that is liquid sample. However, in case of headspace mode, there is no contact between the adsorbent phase and the sample material, as the sample is heated and the compounds are get vaporized and they come into the headspace, and those headspace and those compounds are then adsorbed on the adsorbent. So this is the basically generalized information about sorbent based micro extraction techniques. So now we will discuss the first micro extraction technique, that is SPME. As I have told earlier, it is the father of micro extraction technique, introduced in 1990. And basically, as you can see in this figure, if it is visible, then we have a syringe like structure here, and there is a 1 centimeter long PDMS coating on that fiber. This is a fiber 1 centimeter long, and it has a coating of PDMS, polydimethylsiloxane. So what we do, we just we just expose the fiber to the vapors or directly dip into the sample, and after a particular time of extraction and particular conditions, the compounds are get adsorbed on the fiber, and after that the desorption of the analytes take place in the GC injector port. This is very much compatible for gas chromatography. The most basic advantage of SPME, it does not need any solvent. There is no solvent requirement in solid phase micro extraction, as the compounds are adsorbed on the PDMS coating, and then after adsorption, the PDMS coating is directly injected into the GCMS injector port. So in this scenario, we don't require any solvent, and the sample is required only from ranging from 0.1 to 1 milliliter, and it offers high extraction efficiency and sensitivity also. So basically, these are the steps of the SPME. This is the fiber. This is the fiber. This is our fiber, and this is our sample. So when we heat the sample, the compounds get vaporized and the analytes are get adsorbed on this fiber, and after that the fiber is withdrawn and it is placed into the GCMS injector port, and at high temperature around 250 to 280 degrees centigrade of the injector temperature, these compounds which are adsorbed by the mean of weak van der Waals forces on the PDMS coating, they are get due to that high temperature, these are get dissolved from that fiber, and with the continuous flow of the mobile phase, they enter into the capillary column and the analysis is done. So basically, there are some parameters which affects the extraction efficiency of solid phase micro extraction. The first and foremost is the type of the fiber. For example, in liquid extraction, we extract some compounds through chloroform, we extract some compound from methanol and ethyl acetate. Depending upon the polarity of the solvents, it is just like the same principle, depending upon the polarity of the analyte. For example, if the compounds are totally non-polar, in that case we use PDMS. In case compounds are mid-polar, in that case we use PDMS divinyl benzene. If the compounds are completely polar, in that case we use another solvent, that is polyacrylates. And the thickness of the fiber is also very important. We have some 65 micrometer thickness fiber, 100 micrometer thickness fiber. As the thickness improves, as the thickness increases, the total surface area of the fiber also increases. And the mode of extraction, as we have discussed, like headspace and direct immersion mode, it is also depends upon the nature of analyte. For example, if you are extracting pesticide, organophosphorus pesticide, then you can extract them in headspace mode. However, if you extract pyrethroids like cypermethane, they are not extractable in headspace mode, then you have to go for direct immersion because they do not come very easily in the headspace of the vial. Then extraction time, this is very crucial parameter, as the extraction time defines the equilibrium of the analyte between your sample and your adsorbent phase. Then extraction temperature and pH of the sample, ionic strength, that means presence of any salt in the sample, and then stirring speed. If the compound is, if the sample is heated, at the same time it is agitated also by the means of magnetic stirrers, and that stirring speed also affect the extraction efficiency. Now coming to the second adsorbent type of technique, that is stir bar absorptive extraction. So in this technique, this is, you know, something little bit superior to SPME in terms of sensitivity. However, it uses some organic solvent for the desorption of analytes. Basically, it is a magnet, and that magnet is coated with PDMS, the same material which is used as a fiber in the SPME. The same material is coated, the PDMS material is coated on this magnetic stirring bar, and this bar is directly dipped into the sample, and it is agitated by means of magnetic stirring, and the compounds are get adsorbed on this coating. And after that, this magnetic bar is again dipped in some organic solvent like methanol or ethyl acetate, depending upon the, this is called back extraction, and we use only 500 microliter to 1 ml of this back extraction solvent. And after that, we can inject that organic solvent into the HPLC, GCMS, FTIR, whatever the instrument you want to use, you can analyze. So this is direct, the organic compounds can be extracted or adsorbed into the stirring bar. This is the stirring bar. So that's why it is called stir bar absorptive extraction. This bar, magnetic bar, is basically stirring into the sample. That's why it is called as stir bar. So the same parameters are applicable as I have discussed in SPME. The same parameters, these are affecting the efficiency of SPSE. Now coming to the third technique, that is known as micro extraction with packed solvent. So basically, you can see here is also a diagram of syringe. So basically, this is a normal syringe which you use in GC and HPLC analysis. But at the end of the syringe, here you can see there is a adsorbent material like C2, C8 and C18, which is used in HPLC. This adsorbent material is packed at the end of the syringe, and this syringe is basically dipped into the aqueous sample. And what you do some eject and draw cycle, like you will draw the sample and then again eject the sample from the syringe, then again you draw the sample and again eject the sample, and this cycle is basically known as draw and eject cycle. And you do this cycle for so many times, like 50 times and 100 times. By the mean of this cycle, the compounds are get adsorbed on this C18 or C18 adsorbent, and after that we have to back extract, or like in case of solid phase extract, we have to dissolve these adsorbed compounds from the MEPS syringe to the organic solvents. So basically the MEPS allows sample volume as little as 10 microliter. You can use the sample up to 10 microliter only. And MEPS is basically, it is a as I have told, it is also sorbent type of the extraction technique. And another factor is that you can use so many kind of organic solvent for the elution depending upon the nature of the analytes, like in SPAV. So basically this is the miniaturized version of solid phase extraction. So there are some steps involved like conditioning. So before analysis, you have to condition, like in SP, you have to condition your solvent, for example, with any methanol like solvent like methanol. Then loading of your sample by draw eject cycles of the sample on solvent to adsorb target analyte on the solvent. Then washing with water to eliminate matrix. So this is very crucial step. You have to run water before final extraction. So there are some polar impurities and impurities or some endogenous substance which are present in the matrix. They can interfere with our analysis. So washing with the water, what water do, the water dissolve these proteins And in this way, you can get rid away from these protein samples like interferences. And then elution, analytes are eluted with organic solvent like methanol or mobile phase. Mobile phase, in case of you are doing HPLC, the mobile phase, whatever the mobile phase you are using for analysis, the same mobile phase you can use for elution of your analytes. Then thin film solid phase microextraction. So basically it is also a kind of adsorption technique, but in case there is a thin film of stainless steel, and upon this thin film we coat our PDMS kind of sorbents. So basically it is an alternate configuration of SPME, and it consists of a rectangular shaped film of the extraction phase, that is PDMS. And thin films offer, what is the advantage? Basic advantage is it offers high surface to volume ratio. That means the volume of the sample and the ratio between the surface of the adsorbent and the ratio between the volume of the sample is very high in comparison to SBSE and in comparison to SPME. Like this ratio is very much less in SPME, then it is improved in SBSE, then it is further improved in microextraction PEX sorbent, then it is further improved in thin film solid phase microextraction. So larger this high surface, larger this the ratio of the surface to volume, the larger the adsorption or number of the analytes on the PDMS, and greater will be the sensitivity of the method. So it overcomes the limitation of the fragility of the traditional SPME fibers. As I have skipped to tell you that the basic disadvantage of the SPME is that the fiber is very fragile and it can be broken very easily while handling. So, and these are very costly also. So this disadvantage can be overcome by thin film solid phase microextraction, because there is no fiber and it is a film of PDMS. You dip this PDMS film into the sample and analyze the sample. Now coming to the liquid phase microextraction technique. These are we have discussed, these are the sorbent based microextraction technique. Now we are discussing liquid phase microextraction techniques, or the microextraction techniques which use any organic solvent for extraction of our analytes. The first and foremost liquid phase microextraction technique introduced is single drop microextraction. As the name suggests, it consumes only a drop of organic solvents, for example octanol, and a drop of the organic solvent is about 5 to 10 microliter, not more than 5 to 10 microliter. So what we do, this is just like the configurations, the working configurations are same. Here is also a syringe. In that syringe, you take the organic solvent, for example octanol, just pierce the syringe into the sample and very carefully eject the syringe, so that this kind of droplet can be formed above the sample. So this droplet will hang up till the extraction is complete, and you simultaneously you will heat the sample and compound will come into the vapor phase, and from that vapor phase the compound will be partitioned. Here adsorption will not take place, for example, because this is a liquid and adsorption take place in solid material. So here partitioning will be take place, and the compounds has higher affinity for organic solvents in comparison to water. That's why they will come into this little organic droplet, and after that you just collect this droplet and inject into any analytical instrument like GC or HPLC. At the end of the extraction, the solvent drop is retracted back into the syringe needle and is injected into the chromatographic instruments, for example GC or HPLC. So in SPME, you don't consume any organic solvent. In single drop microextraction, you consume 10 microliter of organic solvent. So this is basically a real picture of single drop microextraction. You can see this is the droplet which is of octanol, and this is the samples. When you heat the sample, the compound will be extraction. So the extraction efficiency depends on several factors like extraction time, extraction temperature, pH, ionic strength, volume of the sample, and stirring speed. SDME is inexpensive, easy to operate, nearly solvent free, and can be conducted using very basic apparatus. Like you don't need any high apparatus for this. You just need a magnetic stirrer and hot plate. That's all. And a micro syringe, obviously. And SDME became a very widely applied sample preparation technique for biological, food, and forensic matrices. Now coming to the another microextraction technique, that is dispersive liquid microextraction technique. So basically, you just recall that we have discussed liquid extraction. In liquid extraction, we have two phases. One is aqueous phase, that is your liquid sample, and another one is your organic solvent. The organic solvent is immiscible into the liquid sample. That is the basic principle of extraction, that organic solvent should be immiscible into the water samples. So, and now in DLLME, we have three phases. We have one aqueous phase as an LLE, and we have one extraction solvent as well. It is used in LLE. But here we have some another third component that is known as disperser solvent. So the specificity of this disperser solvent is that disperser solvent is miscible in water, and it is also miscible in extraction solvent. But the extraction solvent is not miscible in water. So as we know in LLE, the extraction solvent is not miscible in water, but this disperser solvent is miscible in both phases. So what we do in DLLME, this is the generalized workflow. This is your sample. We take the mixture of extraction solvent and disperser solvent in a syringe. The mixture of extraction solvent and disperser solvent in a syringe, the hypodermic syringe doctor used for injection, and we rapidly inject this mixture into the aqueous solvent, that is water containing your analyte. So what happens? A cloudy solution is formed, a emulsive solution is formed. So basically this is nothing but this is the emulsion of oil in water, emulsion of chloroform in water. But when at this stage, if you see from the microscope, there are very tiny droplets of chloroform are dispersed throughout the aqueous samples, very tiny droplets. So the surface area between the extraction solvent, that is chloroform, and your sample, that is water, the surface area between chloroform and water is enormously high in comparison to liquid extraction due to the presence of disperser solvent. And after that, in next step, what we do, we centrifuge the sample. So since chloroform is heavier than water, thus it sediment at the bottom of the centrifuge tube, and this sedimented phase, that is chloroform, we collect and analyze by HPLC or GCMS or LCMS or GCFID, whatever the instrument. Or people have also used FTIR and UV visible spectroscopy, and I have coupled thin layer chromatography with DLLME. So basically DLLME, that whole procedure can be completed within 5 minutes. The sample is consumed 5 to 10 ml, and the organic solvent is consumed around 100 to 200 microliter of extraction solvents. So this is very quick. It can be performed within minutes, and the high contact area between water and extraction solvent is the key factor for the equilibrium in the DLLME. So this is the paper we have recently published in 2021 Microchemical Journal, where we have analyzed paracetamol and coupled dispersive liquid micro extraction with digital image colorimetry, and we have analyzed paracetamol in urine samples and pharmaceutical samples. This is the review paper which we have published in 2016 in Trends in Analytical Chemistry, and this review paper generally discusses the applications of DLLME in forensic toxicology. And in another review paper, we have discussed the micro extraction techniques particularly applicable for analysis of cannabinoids. Now coming to another micro extraction technique, that is liquid phase, that is hollow fiber liquid phase micro extraction technique. So basically hollow fiber, as the name suggests, there is a fiber which is hollow from inside. So hollow fiber setup consists of the porous hollow fiber membrane, and this membrane is basically a polypropylene, made of polypropylene, which is impregnated with an organic solvent. So this membrane is impregnated with an organic solvent, and this setup is known as supported liquid membrane. The membrane which is impregnated with an organic solvent, for example methanol, this is known as supported liquid membrane. So basically what we do in hollow fiber liquid phase micro extraction, we just dip this hollow fiber, the one end we seal from by the mean of heat, and another end we another end we fill the organic solvent like methanol or water, and then seal another end also, and just dip that hollow fiber into the sample. So this is basic setup. You can see these are the analyte molecules, and this is sample, and this is supported liquid membrane, and this is donor phase, that is samples. So during the extraction, these analytes are attracted towards the supported liquid membrane, and then through the supported liquid membrane they enter into the lumen of the fiber, and that lumen is filled with any organic solvent, and after extraction we retract the organic solvent and analyze from chromatographic instruments. So this hollow fiber liquid phase microextraction is also of two types, that is two phase and three phase. That is clear in this diagram. Basically in two phase LPME, we have a supported liquid membrane if the acceptor phase is the same with the organic solvent. For example, for making supported liquid membrane we are using methanol, and we are also filling methanol in the lumen, then it is known as two phase LPME. And in case we are filling the lumen with different solvent than the supported liquid membrane, for example water, then it is known as three phase LPME. So it is the setup which is applicable for different kind of analytes, and we have to optimize in various parameters of the microextraction technique. So this is the general information about the hollow fiber liquid phase microextraction, that this is of two type, two phase LPME and three phase LPME. Now coming to conclusion. So sample cleanup is a very difficult step. It is very error prone step also in analytical workflow, and it consumes 50 to 75% of your total energy time in the sample preparation only. So traditional sample preparation methods are not in the line of green analytical chemistry principles, since they consume large amount of toxic organic solvents. They are time consuming, they are laborious, and they are error prone also. Since they are multi-step procedures, so there are chances of errors also. But in microextraction techniques, they are very simple, rapid, economic, eco-friendly, and efficient for analysis of various classes of compounds in complex metrics such as biological, food, environment, and pharmaceutical matrices. Many redundant and error-prone steps have been eliminated, and the use of toxic organic solvents has been minimized and eliminated, almost eliminated in case of SPME and minimized in case of liquid phase microextraction techniques. Microextraction techniques have the capability of compatibility with any analytical instruments like chromatography, spectroscopy, and any other analytical instruments. And what is my opinion? My opinion is that we have to adopt microextraction techniques in our routine analysis, as we have to increase our output also. So they are very high sample throughput techniques. The time consumed for the analysis of a single sample through liquid extraction is 1 day. Practically it is 1 day, because we have to extract the samples 3 times, and then we have to evaporate the samples, then we have to demulsify. There are so many steps, but these steps are not involved with microextraction techniques. In a single day we can analyze 20 to 30 samples. So basically our output increases, since they are very high sample throughput techniques. So basically in all of the forensic science laboratories, we should adopt microextraction techniques as routine sample preparation techniques. If we are not able to afford solid phase microextraction techniques and other costly extraction techniques, in case we have to purchase some solvents, in that case we can go for liquid phase microextraction techniques like DLME, dispersive liquid microextraction. It is very cost effective technique. It does not require any sorbent, but you don't have to purchase any costly equipment. You just need centrifuge tube, a centrifuge, and a vortex mixer, and a syringe that is of 5 rupees only. So basically we have to reduce our cost of per sample analysis, and in order to improve our output, we have to adopt microextraction techniques in our routine analytical workflow. So thank you very much. This is done from my side.